Go ahead, Kai.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I just said I covered these magnets with little wooden caps just to make them look better or more wooden. So this is how I made the caps. I turned a cylinder about 13 millimeters in diameter, which is half an inch. And then I drilled into them, and I wanted the caps to be rather flat and not too heavy. So I didn't use an ordinary drill to do this, but I hope I get that right, a straight plunge router bit of 10 millimeters or 3/8 of an inch. And this doesn't have a tip. So you get a rather shallow hole to put the magnet in. Yeah, and this works because you don't need the tip, as everything is centered by the drill chuck and the lace, so the bit shouldn't wander from the center. And then I turned the outer shape of the wooden cap and parted it off and put it on a little spigot that is slightly tapered. So I just squeezed it on and turned the top and sanded the top. And then I glued in the super magnet using 2K epoxy glue.
Kai, you get an award for the smallest jam chuck ever. So.
Yeah, and just go back. In practice, of course, if you have to make 10 of these, for example, for a photo string, it makes more sense to drill them all, and then once they've got the holes in them and the rough outer shape, then to turn the spigot. And I tried all my my little caps, my prepared little caps on the spigot. Some fit really nicely, some were too loose. So I sorted the loose ones out and did the fitting ones first, and then I turned another little bit bigger spigot for the loose ones, and then I finished them. So that makes more sense than to do it cap by cap and turn a spigot for every cap, of course.
Hey, Kai,
yes.
Can I ask a question? I don't know why my sound just disappeared. I couldn't hear a thing anybody was saying. So I'm trying to take notes also so I can put it in the YouTube notes. What was this project that you were just showing everybody? Because I had to hold off for a second.
Yeah, a photo string for displaying photos or notices or whatever you want to put on it. Just mustn't be too heavy. Yeah,
it has spheres on the bottom and the top.
Huh.
Yeah.
In a string.
Okay, that was the general topic, how to use your spheres, what to do with them.
All right, can you go back on some of your pictures, because I had some issues as well. Zoom wasn't showing me your share, but it is now. So so I missed the first couple of pictures.
I just go back, and so you saw that one?
I see.
No, that's good. I didn't see that. That looks good. That's great. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the sphere at the top and the sphere at the bottom. I will say something about the spheres at the end of the photos or the series of photos. Okay, and then the that's just a detail, and then the others were about turning this little wooden cap for the magnet to hide it.
I see.
So
when I first saw the cap, I thought you were making tiny bowls.
No. Okay, so go on, and yeah, and that's just finishing the cap and then sanding it, and then I glued in the magnet. then I had to drill the sphere. The upper one has got a hole that goes all the way through, a thin one, which I opened at one end a little bit with a bigger drill to put in the end of the metal string to form a loop, which you will see in a minute. And for gluing and centering the sphere, I used a Forstner bit in the drill chuck first to drill a hole into a scrap board that are fixed with two clamps to the drill press table. And then I removed the Forstner bit and put in the thin long bit. And now if you place the sphere onto this hole, it is centered, and it's also easier to hold for drilling. Yeah, and then I drilled a hole all the way through, and at one end, as I said, I made it a little bit bigger using a bigger drill, so I could form a loop and glue the end of the loop into the hole. And it makes sense to cover the surface of the sphere with painter's tape so that you don't get glue onto it. Yeah, and here I also just drilled a hole into the sphere about 3 centimeters or 1 inch deep and glued in the other end. Okay, and that's it. All right. Any questions?
And that's just braided picture wire, Kai?
That's wire I got from the DIY store. It's 2 millimeter metal wire. I think it's used for different purposes. I tried some 3 millimeter wire as well, but it looks too thick, I think. So 2 millimeter wire works nicely. That's less than 1/8 of an inch. I don't know what it is in fractions.
I got an idea for you, Kai. Use fishing line, real thin fishing line, and put a magnet behind the picture and then your little nubbin on the front, and then you'll have your picture just floating in the air. You follow, instead of your wire, use fishing line because that's pretty invisible. And then put a magnet behind each picture, one of the little magnets and one in the front, and that would hold it on, wouldn't it?
Okay, so you want to hold the picture between two magnets and the fishing line. I can try that, yeah. Sounds good. Yeah, good idea.
It would be floating pictures, so.
Yeah.
Jim and Kai, if you do that, make sure to take the tension out of the fishing line. Take the fishing line and drop it into a pot of hot but not boiling water, because otherwise it will tend to curl up on you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a fisherman, so I didn't think about it curling up like that. But you're right, Randy. You're absolutely right. So
yeah, good idea. Thanks.
So I missed that, Kai. So you're actually using the little nubbins that you were making with the magnet in to stick to the wire? I didn't see it on the picture. Oh, okay, so I get you now. Thanks. I missed that portion.
That holds the picture onto the string or on the string.
I gotcha. Yep, great. That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, I have to admit it isn't originally my idea. I saw something like that using just plain magnets and a metal weight at one end. So the idea isn't an original one.
Oh, but you made art out of it, Kai, so that qualifies.
It just gave me a chance to play around with all the spheres I made or to use them up.
Absolutely. I've seen something similar for displaying pictures, and they used clothespins, and they used one of my fridge magnets that had a strong magnet to stick on the door, and they'd hung a ribbon and then used little clothespins to hang their pictures on. But your idea that's an excellent idea. They use part of my my magnets, my fridge magnet thing, to hang their string on. But I like your idea. That's really cool. I'm going to try and make some of those. They're fun.
Okay, thank you.
Kai, the only thing I wonder is how many spheres you got laying around the house or sitting around your house?
I still have a box full of them.
Yeah, and you can't just sit them, they roll away, right? So, okay. Hey, well, thank you, Kai.
Yeah,
John,
but-
are you back on? I'll let you be host if you're back connected.
Well, you tell me, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I don't know what happened before. I couldn't hear a doggone thing. And so I got off and back on. That is really cool, Kai. That's a nice idea.
And I started with Kai because I thought he probably had something to do with some more spheres. So you might want to start at the top of the list now. So
Oh, that's fine. Well, on my computer, Gerry is next up. So why don't we go to Gerry?
I'll share a screen.
Yep.
Can you see that guy?
you sure
I
can.
can.
Okay, this is the latest and maybe last in my series of German smokers.
Oh, don't tell us that.
Well, I'm running out of inspiration with wood and wood. And I'm a restless wood turner because I have so many other hobbies
Right.
that call. But at any rate, I did him because the one I started that I showed you the last time, which was Alfred Hitchcock. I don't know if anybody remembers that.
Yes.
The body that I made was too small for him, so I had a body, and so I started from there, and it turned into a painter. And so you're supposed to imagine that the picture behind him is what he's painting on that. And he's on a cigar box again, which is a nice white one, which was no good for a guitar, but pretty good for a bass. And I've been thinking something that I want to say, and I hope it's appropriate, but before I ever showed one of these German smokers, I had shown bowls and boxes. But when it came time to the first one, I was nervous and worried and apprehensive. And what I figured out was I was worried about Kai, that he might think I was appropriating another culture. And being a former professor, we're wary of that. But I can tell you, Kai has been super nice about it and put me at ease. So thank you, Kai. Anybody have any questions about this?
Who
Hey.
who painted the scene behind the smoker dude?
That's one of my photographs.
Really?
Yeah, it's in Harper's Ferry. That's the church at Harper's Ferry. The steps start at ground level and go up past the third cloud. And it's a pretty church, but I did some maneuvering to make it look more like a painting, and I think it does. It's actually fastened on to that box. It's the problem I had was this one doesn't fit in that glass case I showed you last week or last time so well. It has to be on its side. And taking a picture of this was a challenge because there seemed to be no good side. I'm wondering if I could show you another one that
Sure.
should be in, where is it?
Hey, while you're doing it, Gerry, I got a question for you.
Yes,
what
good.
would it be like if you'd have put a mirror where you have that picture so we could actually see what the painter's painting on the easel?
Well, it's not that great. It's like the first
Okay.
coat, it's just roughing in a bunch of colors.
But at least we could see the backside, so, yeah.
Yes, yeah, you could. The other picture that I took, let's see. That probably didn't come up, did it?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, so I have to get out of screen
You're
sharing and come back. Okay.
While you're doing that, Gerry, if this doesn't fit in your display case, and so this will be the first one in a new display case, you have a whole new display case to fill up with more smokers.
Well, turns out if I put it in sideways, it is, but it's you don't see much.
No, you
Here,
don't want
this
that.
what you can you see this one?
Yes.
Okay, you can see the paint. It's all over him, and it's dribbled down the front of the easel, just like when I used to paint. It was a pretty messy thing.
That's a good shot. I like that shot.
Yeah, the pink around his mouth sort of bothered me. It was a mild pink, but the sun hits it and reflects on it, and it looks like he has a bad disease. But
He's been licking his brush too often.
That's it.
that's it. Well, anybody who paints know that red goes everywhere. You know, you can put in a gallon of yellow and half an ounce of red, and you have red paint. It's just that powerful. And
Do you
go
paint
ahead.
yourself? Do you paint yourself? Are you a painter
Yeah, I got to paint.
oil?
Oh, am I a painter?
Yeah.
I have been, but I haven't painted recently. I'm an owner of some really nice brushes right now. Just the same with music. I have some really fine custom built instruments, but I'm not a musician. But yeah, I like painting. I liked it, but after a couple years of photography and being able to do what I want by painting with light, I found that my drawing skills had all but disappeared.
Huh.
So there's a message for you. If you paint and draw, keep on painting and drawing, and stay away from a camera because the world's already full of photographers, and we don't need another one. So
Hey, wait a minute. Hey, wait a minute.
Yeah,
no, I wasn't talking about Jim. Jim, you're in the brotherhood. Jim,
Oh,
by the
am
way,
I? Oh, sure.
we're friends on Facebook, and Jim photographs a lot, and he's good. He's just plain good. So there. Did I get out of that, Jim?
You got out of it, Jerry.
That's
You're
funny.
close. By the way, how far are you from Harper's Ferry? How far do you live away?
It's a couple of hours.
Oh, is it? Okay, I'm sorry.
More than an hour.
Okay.
I haven't been there lately. There was a fire there, and I haven't been there since the fire.
Okay.
But it's beautiful. I love Harper's Ferry. Okay, I'll stop sharing, and thank you, guys.
Well, thank you, Jerry. Let's see. I have Bert. Bert.
Okay, yeah, I've got a couple or just one little thing to show on here. Stu and I were playing around with some of his tools, and he has a one of these replaceable handles where you can swap tools around with a collet. And I went online to look at them, and they're about $160 to buy one. And I thought I can make one of those. So what I did was I went and bought a tool from the machinist world. So this is a collet that fits in a milling machine. This is 3/4 of an inch OD, and it's about a little better than half an inch ID. I had to anneal this because it's hardened, so I could drill the hole a half inch. And I put an ER20, it's an ER20 collet. And this particular one, I'm going to put in a handle so that I can use it on my little miniature hollowing tools. I've got these bars with little pieces of high-speed steel in them, and I always had to put them in a handle with set screws. And I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but there's a whole bunch of set screw marks along here, and it always made it difficult to slide it in and out. But now it fits in a collet, and it works perfectly. So I now have an ER20 or ER20 collet for my half-inch stuff, and I'm going to make a handle for my 3/8 inch stuff. And tools from the machinist world are working really, really well for wood turning. And all of this metal parts here cost me less than $60 Canadian, and I can make the wood piece myself. But it's just the functionality is just amazing. And I can turn them around for transport, so I can put the sharp edge in the handle. So when I'm traveling, the sharp edge is hidden. I don't have to worry about it. And when I want to use it, flop it around, and it's a collet. and like you can make whatever handle you want to put on it. And if I wanted to only use one handle, I could change the collet in this one to the 3/8 collet or whatever size I need for whatever tool I've got.
That's
So,
very nice, Bert.
yeah, it's just that's it.
So
Hey, Bert, I made
Yep.
something like that also, but I used a plumbing fitting,
Yes.
a gas fitting, and that worked. It was much cheaper. And
Yeah,
and
I did that as well for my hunter hollowing tools are 3/8 of an inch, and what I found is I couldn't break them loose by hand. I had to use a wrench in order to do it, but it worked. And what I ended up now is I just leave those dedicated to those little hollowing tools. But for these hollowing tools, I was trying to figure out a way so I didn't have to use an Allen wrench. And looking at Stu's tools, the idea came up, and I thought, well, I can make one, and so I did. I just went and bought this, and now it's I haven't actually used this little one yet, but I've used the 1/2 inch one on my bowl gouge, and I love it. It's I mean, function over it doesn't have to be pretty. It just has to work.
right, it's nice making your own tools. I enjoy that myself.
Yeah, the journey. Sometimes I think that's what it is. It's just the journey.
Yeah.
You just go out and make something, and then when it's functional, I'm the same thing when I make wood turning stuff. I like to make functional items. So this is functional for me, and it was
Right.
inexpensive.
So Bert, I don't know anything about metalworking, but when you said you had to drill that fitting out, what did you have to do to allow you to do that?
I had to anneal the steel because these pieces are really hardened so when they go in and out, they don't mark themselves. But so this steel is probably Rockwell 60, which is a hardness,
Right,
and they treat the metal to make it hard.
right,
Well, if you take a torch and heat this up to about 800, 900 degrees, turn it blue or almost red, just the part where there was threads in here for when you mount this on the metalworking machine, you bolt it in with a retaining bolt.
right.
But I needed to get rid of those threads so that my tool will slide through. And this one I haven't annealed and drilled out yet, but on the big one I did.
I see.
And so there again, it's a little bit of metalworking work. I had to go online to understand how to anneal it to make this soft, and it's really, really simple.
So do you put it in water or something, or you just let it cool down after you heat it red hot?
You just let it cool down slowly, because if you put it in water, that's how they harden it. Makes
Okay.
it harder. So yeah,
That's what I
went
thought.
online and found a way to do it, and it worked.
I have another question that's related. I have heard guys talk about changing handles on tools. To me, that would not work. I want to reach back to the rack and grab the tool with the handle on it already. I don't want to have to take one loose, lay it by the lathe, pick up the handle, turn it and twist it. Your collet idea is a little simpler than some of the other ones where you have to do whatever. But I mean, do a lot of guys really have a lot of handleless tools that they put the handle on as they're working? That's my question. So
I'm not sure. I made this one because sometimes when I'm doing a demonstration, I've always had to put some kind of a protection over the end of the cutting edge so it doesn't get dull, doesn't get banged. And I thought the collet idea would work for that. And I've got 2 collet holders now, one for 3/8 and one for 1/2 inch. And if you're traveling to do a demonstration somewhere, do you want a whole box full of tools, or do you want to take a
Right.
bunch of tool bits and a couple handles? And because it's a collet, it's a really quick change for on a table right beside where you're doing the demonstration. That's kind of where I was going, is to make that part simpler. But no, I agree. I'm probably going to end up making more holders because they're fun to make and they're functional.
well, that makes sense when you're doing a demo because you're talking anyways. So while you're talking, you just switch the tool. But I meant when I'm working, I don't want to have to be switching chisels in the handle. That's just not my cup of tea. But maybe
I don't have a picture handy, but I should show you my tool rack at my lathe. I'm like you. I just want to reach for the tool. I've got a 4-layer, 10 wide, 4 layers of tools stacked up with a door on it. So when I need a tool, I just reach for it. And these ones here will fit in that rack when I'm working. So yeah, I put the tool I'm going to use and it's on the rack and off the rack.
Sometime we need to have a contest to who has the most tools. I know we had a conversation about who has the most chucks. And I think it was Stu that has 40. Who has 40? Somebody had 40 chucks. Maybe it was Angelo or whatever. And I go, holy smokes, my wife would divorce me if I bought 40 chucks. But anyways.
Hey, by the way, I failed to spotlight Bert when you started showing your tool holder there, Bert. Can you just hold it up again to make sure everybody got a chance to see it?
Okay, so this is my wooden handled tool holder with a collet. So it's just a collet allows you to put in whatever size collet for the tools you have.
Yep.
And the actual device was a metalworking collet holder for a milling machine. And the end of it was 3/4 of an inch in diameter. And it's got a through hole. And I had to take the threads out of the through hole in order to allow my my tools to go all the way through.
Yep. Okay. Thank you.
Hey, John, just the information for anybody who's on the latest version. I was in multi-view, the new multi-view version, the third way of viewing. When you spotlight, it doesn't spotlight in the multi-view part. It stays the same windows.
No kidding.
Just a heads up. So, yeah.
So Zoom just keeps improving their product to the point where we don't know what the heck we're doing with it.
So they have to improve one more time, supposedly. So
right.
Okay. Jim, your
Yes.
point about handles and tools, if you do a lot of demonstration, it doesn't half make to lighter carrying if you've got handles and loose tools. You're quite right. If you're in your own workshop, that's the best way. But if you do a lot of demonstrations around the country, wherever, it's much lighter to carry just two handles and all the odd tools than everyone handled.
There is another advantage if you use handles like the one we've just discussed. You can take the tool out for sharpening, which makes sharpening for some hollowing tools much easier than doing it with a long handle. And also, while turning, if the handle is drilled out, you can push the tool far into the handle, so you can control the overhang you have. So if you have a thin shank hollowing tool, you can pull it out as much as you need. You don't need all the tool being extended. So that's I think it's quite a good system for certain applications, not for all tools, but for some applications, it's really helpful.
Don, that would be my way to do what you've been telling me on my stuff. Use shorter handles. You have way too long handles for what I was doing. And you kept saying to me, Jim, you need shorter handles. I guess I need to go with Kai's way of doing it. So, yeah.
That makes sense.
The other thing that would have helped me is my grinder is right by the door where you enter my shop. It's just the way it worked out. I had to literally cut the door trim off so that my long handle could slide back far enough to rock around on the grinder. Anyways.
Okay. Is that it, Bert?
Yeah, that's all I had. Yeah, you bet.
Okay. Thank you. Mike Peace, you're up.
Okay, I got fired up with Kai's presentation of his spear holders last week, and I went into my shop and started looking for odd pieces of wood. This is just one of them. I had problem getting the pictures on this other computer, but I found this scrap of burl with little lichens on it, and it worked out great. That's just one of about 5 of them I did last Thursday, so that was fun. This is what John was talking about, John Shalikian, using a plumbing fitting. And it works for small tools as well. You just got to figure out right fitting, and you almost need to be a plumber, I think, to figure out the right fitting. You still may have to drill it a little bit. Some of them come with brass compression rings, and sometimes they're better replaced with a one of those Delrunes. It doesn't get deformed as easily as brass. And then the most recent turning I've made is I got this from idea from Jason Breach on Axminster Mood Owl. And the interesting thing that he came up with was the eyes. He turned these dark, the dark part. He made a dowel out of walnut, and then he sized it to 3/8 inch or whatever metric he used by using a plug cutter, so it would exactly fit in the drilled hole, which I thought was an interesting idea. The challenge on this thing is either being able to make a wooden collet that will fit and hold this thing for multi-axis drilling for each of the eyes, or you've got to come up with a jam chuck that will keep this thing in place, and or a donut chuck, and they're all kind of a challenge to do that multi-axis on the eyes. But it's a fun project. Depending on which way he's looking, he's either inquisitive or he looks guilty or he's happy or pensive, whatever.
By the way, Mike, are you four guys still doing demos or not?
Turning
I say four guys. I forget
Turning
what
four. You mean turning four ways?
Turning four ways. Are you still doing it?
Every first of the month, 4 p.m. Eastern time.
I gotta write that down. Okay.
I'm still enjoying those things, by the way.
Great.
So does my wife, which
fun.
is funny because Patty doesn't turn, but she loves watching them.
They're fun.
Turning four
I feel
ways.
blessed.
Is that turning four ways?
4 ways.
Fourways.com?
No.
No.
Just
On
go
YouTube.
just go on YouTube and type in 4 ways, and you'll run across it. Or go to any one of our channels and look at the videos, and you'll see one without having to go too far, because we do one a month, so you don't have to go too far back to find it. And then there's links on each one to the other 3.
If I go to YouTube, I'll get stuck somewhere, not even get to them, just because
Yeah.
you got so many there to look at. So
Well, everybody's got lots of them. Richard Raffin's getting a pretty good supply now, and so does Tomislav, and Angelo's got Sam Angelo's got more than I do.
hey,
But
by
I'm
the way,
catching up.
why has Raffin suddenly gotten on board with all the videos? He used to almost resist them, didn't he, in the early days?
He had a presentation with us, about 2 years ago, and he was about ready to hang up his channel when the fellow was doing the video and editing, and I connected with him in the chat and followed up with a Zoom session with him, because I had some ideas of how he could increase his watch time, and I'll take credit for getting him motivated, inspired to give it a try. And then once he got into it, it's like, now he sent me an email. He said something like, he's got a new favorite hobby.
Well, he's
That's
fun to
great.
watch. He's fun to watch
Yes.
because he's so almost deadpan.
Yeah.
He's just matter of fact, and something won't work out right, and he'll go, "Well, that wasn't supposed to happen."
And he's like that in person. I've done a couple workshops with him a week at a time when he used to come up to Canada, and he's exactly that way in person. It's just hilarious. I watched him make a funnel out of a bowl, and it flew across the shop. And he said exactly that. Well, that's not supposed to happen. He's just a great individual. I really
Yep.
enjoyed him.
I think there could be a channel entitled like that would be only funnels happening, and you could say that's not supposed to happen.
Well, Mike sort of has his annual bloopers.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I got one coming up here in another week. I'm in the editing process now. Yeah, I do a bloopers video once or twice a year. Depends on how many mistakes I make.
I was gonna just ask you, Mike, how do you plan for a blooper?
Yeah, you don't plan it. When it happens, you just take that clip and you put it in a folder, and then type it in on your script, the description of what it is. So when you come back, edit it later months, you can figure out what all these pieces are and how to put them together.
That's
Well,
hilarious.
that's why I now have a camera that runs in my shop 24/7, so that if something happens, it's not a high quality camera, but it just captures everything that happens at the lathe. Because sometimes things happen that I'm not trying to record, but having this little camera capture everything, it captures some bloopers that I'm not too proud of.
When I worked in the news business, we used to keep our clips like that. And once a year they had a roast of the politicians at the Capitol, and we'd bring out all the bloopers, and that would always be a great fun show. So yeah.
That was great, Mike. Do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, let's see. I have Max up next. Max, are you ready?
Yeah. Dawn had something to show.
Yep. I got Don up next too.
This is something I just finished that is a held on the base with a magnet. But
Oh,
you start out with a bowl, you turn a smooth bowl, and then cut out whatever you want out of the bowl. In this case, I cut it out with a scroll saw and then carved it and scorched it and dyed it. And you put magnets and you choose what angle you want it to display.
that's
So
very
I don't know
nice.
how well the color shows in the light, but it's red, yellow, and orange after it was charred and then sanded back.
No, that's beautiful.
So
you
probably a
charred it.
one-off. I don't know if I'm going to carve another leaf.
So you char and sand them first before dyeing them. Is that what I heard?
Yes.
Okay.
That's nice work.
Then a little bit of semi-gloss lacquer buffed back.
Okay. Beautiful.
But and you can pick any kind of base you want. And there's a magnet in both pieces.
You should put a magnet along the seam of the leaf, then you could put it at 3 different positions or 4 different positions, one at a time. So, yeah.
That sounds like too much work.
I'm sorry. I don't have to do it. I just had the idea.
This started getting thin enough that I started out with a 1/4 inch thick bowl. And by the time all the carving was done, I'm not sure I have 1/8 of an inch in the leaf. So I could only put a recess in there so deep to put that magnet in.
Yeah.
I would have cried if I went through it.
Yeah. After all that work.
It had been a leaf imperfection. That's all it would have been. So.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's all I had. Thanks.
Very nice.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Max.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Don.
I just wanted to, I disappeared to show you my owl.
Yeah. Pull it back a
Just
little
with
bit,
your
Don.
fork.
Put it closer to you.
Yeah, I tried to get rid of my virtual background, but I couldn't get it.
Oh my, there it is. That's great.
It's a wise owl.
Yes.
Good call, Jim.
It's based on one that I made for somebody who'd passed their graduation in university.
That's a neat idea, Don. I never thought about putting a graduation cap on top. That's awesome.
How did you make the eyes with the radiation? Radiating.
They're plastic cat's eyes or teddy bear eyes.
Well, I'm not talking about the eyes themselves, but the decoration around the eye where the iris is.
Right. I was looking for the jig that I made. I'll try and find it for next week. What it is, it's a jig that takes the sphere and you mark up where you want the 2 eyes, and you put one face into the sphere, and then this is done with a small router.
That looks like a lot of work.
It's not too bad. Once you've got it set up very quickly, it's just around 24 times with a router cutter, because it's slightly concaved to the center. And then when you've gone through, you just take off the outside ring to present that eyeball. And then you put your eye in, and then you turn it round with the center, because you marked your 2 centers, find the center again on the second one, lock it in, and do exactly the same.
Nice.
And how did you lock it on for the multi-axis? Did you use a jam chuck or?
It was a jam a chuck, which is 2-part chuck.
Donut.
The base has a bit like that, with some bolts going through, and a faceplate with a big hole in it, and you just fit it into your faceplate and turn it round. I'll try and find a jig for next week and just show you.
Like this one.
I had a quick look and I couldn't find it. So
is it like this one, Don? Something like that.
Sorry?
Is it something like this donut one that I'm showing? I don't know. You have to look at the gallery or something to, yeah.
Oh, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah. Yeah, I
There it
use
is.
this for coffee scoops, and I could have used larger bolts and used this, and it probably would have been easier. So it's a good reminder. I'll do that next time I make one. Put longer bolts in it and use this because I think it's more easier.
Yeah, yeah.
Is that a donut? Is that considered a donut chuck?
I'd consider it a donut chuck, but I guess you can call it whatever you want. Tomato, tomato.
A double-plated chuck.
Oh my.
I made something similar out of not a plumbing fitting, but irrigation fitting. It's plastic water coupling, and you cut the coupling in half, and then it gives you a threaded. I think Alan Stratton had one on here 4 or 5 years ago, and I used that, and I got them in different sizes, and it just it works exactly the same. And it was just like I say an irrigation plumbing fitting for coupler, and then when you get one, you make one coupling gives you two jigs.
They're ideal for eggs.
So I don't see anybody else with a hand up. If not, I'm going to try to share my screen. Tell me if you all can see this.
Yep.
Okay, hold on. Let me get my Zoom back. It doesn't want to come back. Come on.
Yes.
We
Got
see
it.
it.
Got it.
Well, yeah, so I can see my own screen, but I can't see all of you, but I'll just go through it and then stop sharing. So a while ago, Angelo gave me this mulberry crotch. It's about 12 inches high by 21 inches across. It's pretty big. I was going to try to turn it outside in other words, I was going to try to make a heart-shaped bowl with it, but the doggone thing is so big. But the other challenge I had, let me see if I can get this to advance, is that the crotch piece itself, it just wasn't going to lend itself too much of a bowl. I didn't think. I was concerned about trying to turn that. So I was texting back and forth with Angelo, and I decided I was going to just turn 2 bowls out of it. I haven't turned the left side, but I did cut it. I cut it apart right down the seam, which kind of seems sacrilegious, but it's what I did. And ended up with that as the blank. I used a faceplate just because it was so wonky. And I turned it to that point, and I sent a picture to Angelo, and he said, he didn't quite use the expression, but it's what he meant. He said, it looks like a dog bowl. So I revised it a bit and ended up with that. Now, let's see if I can stop the share. Here we go.
But if you
Oops, before you do that, could you go back to the crotch?
yeah, thank you, Ken. I want to see the crotch first.
Okay.
Because it's a perfect example of a V-shaped crotch where you have a lot of bark inclusion.
Right.
Back to your beginning one.
Yep. There's that, or there's that.
No, there's one that shows it real well.
Oh,
One before.
that one?
I didn't see it.
There it is.
Yeah, you can see the V shape.
Yep.
That usually indicates that there's going to be a bark inclusion just because of the way it grew.
Right.
If it's a U-shaped, there's a better chance of you getting that big bowl out of it that you really want.
Right. That's exactly the same thing that David Ellsworth said when I went down for his class. He goes, you really want to look for a U-shaped crotch if you're going to turn the center of it. And clearly this was not. So it ended up, go ahead.
So you were really terrified that it would come apart, or what? I would have
just
loved
thought
I would have loved
would've
one
turned-
with that void in it, but
I thought about that. It was a pretty doggone big piece of mulberry, and I can only turn up to 16 unless I spin the head of the lathe 90 degrees, or I could slide it down to the end and turn off the end, except that I don't have a tool rest if I do that. So I guess I took the cheater's way out, and I only, so I've got 2 bowls. The first one I've turned, I just showed that one to you. And then this is, I don't know if you can see that. Let me just try to spotlight it. Can you see that?
Yeah, you're spotlighted.
Okay. So anyhow, it was fun to turn. The wood is nice. Wasn't my best effort, but it was a fun piece to turn. And then as I was making these blanks, as I was talking about with Ernie for Ernie Conover's thing, I wanted to see what this black cherry would look like. And Patty's been asking me to make a little salt, like a little salt cellar for a box. Never made a box before. So I made this just as a quick test while I was getting away from cutting a whole bunch of bowl blanks. I just needed to do something different. So I made this little box. It was very green, very wet. I don't know if it'll come apart now. There it is. So I've been watching my pieces of box videos, and I had fun. Like I said, this is not intended to be a really a great finished piece, but it was fun, and I put some decoration on it. So it's kind of, when it's totally closed, you can't really tell where the seam is. So that was my first box.
Ernie must have come to check out us because he's coming is it this weekend, Ernie, or next weekend? I forget.
Yeah.
I don't hear
From
Ernie, so yeah.
Safety and what have you. Oh, there's Ernie.
Yeah. I'm headed out tomorrow. I'm packing now, and I was just saying that I look forward to seeing everybody and having a good time.
Yeah, well, we are too. Ernie, I'm taking the bowl blanks over today after we get done here. I did coat them with anchor seal, and some of them are still a little bit sticky, so I'll bring some paper towels so we can wipe off anything that hasn't dried. But I wanted to make sure I did everything so that they would not crack after I prepared them.
That should cause future turners to be waxing.
So what would be the equivalent of waning for future turners?
Well, I don't know. All things come to he who waits, I guess. I don't know.
Well, since Ernie, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and looking forward to seeing everybody, packing my tools, and I should be there by middle afternoon tomorrow.
All right.
Are they going to be videotaped?
Ask me, I don't know.
I was thinking about it, but we don't really have somebody that's going to sit at the camera and monitor that and make sure it's static.
You just need to readjust your schedule and come to the event.
Yeah, we only have room for, I think, when I say 12 on Sunday, but we still have room on Saturday for folks. It's I think we have 13 people coming, maybe a little bit more on Saturday, and we have certainly more room for people that are interested on Saturday.
Yeah, we can take quite a few on Saturday.
Yeah, I think we have probably 25 or 30 chairs.
Yeah, that's often, and again, with some kind of video on the turning itself, you can satisfy quite a few people.
True. Although, as I said, I approached folks in the Woodturners Club about it, and it was a definitive no. We're not gonna Zoom this. So I think I'll probably turn the camera on anyhow and put it on the big screen just to zoom in on what Ernie does at the lathe. And that would be better than, give people kind of a close-up view of what Ernie's up to.
That would help a great deal.
Yeah, I plan on doing that. The cameras are set up already, so all we have to do is turn everything on and let it go. We're not going to be switching back and forth too much, I don't think, but we need to, we can do that.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. I'm traveling on Saturday, so I won't be able to join you. That would be great fun. Sorry. I would love to see you in person, Ernie. So
that's all right. I can sit alone in the dark.
Oh, jeez.
So I'm going to share the screen here. Can you all see this?
It says you're starting.
That says I'm screen sharing, but can you
Your
not?
Your DSL is not. There it is. Now I got it. We got it.
Okay. Well, those are the blanks that I'm taking out to Kaufman Kitchens this afternoon. So Ernie, tell me if they look like they're gonna. I hope they're gonna meet the need, because that's all we have.
They look just.
I'm sorry, I lost the last part of your comment.
You said they look perfect.
Oh, okay, good. Excellent. I just want to make sure that there we are. So that's them drying.
That was a big microwave you had them in, John.
Yeah, well, I put some fans on it because this anchor seal takes a little while to dry, and it's just messy. I got to use something else because it just takes a while to dry, and like, you got to have gloves if you want to pick it up. So I'm going to wipe them off before I take them out there, and hopefully they'll be dried. I think I coated them yesterday.
Yeah, probably the high heat isn't helping wax to solidify either.
Yeah, well, the garage tends to be fairly cool, and I have a couple fans blowing gently across them. So I actually have kept the garage door closed, and even though it's been 90 outside, it was much, much cooler in the garage, just because there's also a loft above it. So the heat stays upstairs mostly and not down the garage in the shop.
So Ernie, what handles do you use, like when you're traveling and bring tools along? Do you have a specific handle that you like?
Not much. I've got about every kind of handle known to Christendom, and I really don't like matching handles on tools because it's easier to sort out which is which with different handles.
Hey, I like that idea because I can never make the handle. Any handle I make is never like another one, even if I tried.
I think Mike's. Go ahead.
Years ago, you used to be able to buy on-handle turning tools from all the British manufacturers at a somewhat cheaper price, like 20% maybe, and make your own handle. So it was a great introductory spindle turning project in a turning course, except that most males tended to make the handle look very anatomical, and you'd have to give fair warning, and it didn't help much. So I gave that up as a project.
You missed the beginning of our coffee hour today, Ernie.
Yeah.
Ernie doesn't know what I'm talking about. I'll explain it on Saturday.
Yeah, you explain it to him because it was worthy of it. So yeah, I get in trouble all the time when I turn something if I don't be careful about shapes. So yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess it's maybe genetic. I don't know.
It certainly is a male problem.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So at any rate, I'll be there. We'll have
Excellent.
some fun.
Well, I hope you have a good trip, Ernie.
All right. Well, I'm planning to, and packing the truck now.
All right.
Like to say something about the anatomical
Oh, Sorry, David, I muted you. My apologies.
Oh, I'd like to say something about the anatomical, especially since I have grandchildren and talk about things. The old days, you called it the female and the male end, and now I guess you're supposed to say socket and plug. It's hard to explain something like male, female ends to a child.
Oh.
Yeah, you could go to internal and external, I suppose, but
Except the problem was in our industry, we always used the male-female term to describe the cables we were using and which direction they should go. And so that wouldn't help either. So.
Yeah, well, that's in thread. When I was a young man in a machine shop, you had the root diameter and crest diameter of a thread, and either internal or external, and they were like map to field or field to map. And then it was in the 60s sometime they went to major and minor diameters, which is easier to keep track of.
Well, we're coming up on 11 o'clock. Does anybody have anything for the last minute or so?
Hey, has anybody seen Bruce Lamb? I haven't seen him for a while.
I have
or
not.
Is he on here and I didn't see him? So
I have not seen Bruce in a while.
Okay.
I'm not sure. Well, I guess that with that, we will say goodbye until another week, and I hope everybody has a good one.
Thank you.
Right,
Hey, Jim.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. It was good.
Wood shop. Thank God for wood.